Chapter 33. I should call you Devil Buddha, right? When Su Qin said this, the expression of the monk in the golden robe changed greatly, and he looked at Su Qin in disbelief. He didn't expect that Su Qin would see through his true identity at first glance. One must know that for 900 years, he has been suppressed by the seal day and night, and his strength has long been integrated with the seal. Moreover, his Devil Buddha Dao allows him to switch between Buddha and demon at will. Unless the real Ta'arahan is resurrected, outsiders won't be able to tell who he is. How do you know? A dark demonic light faintly appeared in the depths of the pupils of the monk in the golden robe. How do I know? Su Qin didn't answer. Under the observation of the eyes of truth, Su Qin discovered that the aura of the monk in the golden robe originated from the trace of demonic energy deep underground. The eyes of truth is a divine ability that Su Qin obtained from signing in. No matter how the Devil Buddha hides, he can't hide from the eyes of truth. I've been curious, after 900 years, why are you still alive? Su Qin said and looked at the monk in the golden robe again. He shook his head and said, I didn't expect that you would abandon your body and survive until today in the form of a demonic will. A Grade 1 Great Grandmaster can cultivate divinity. A peak Grade 1 can condense divine sense to explore the surroundings, interfere with foreign objects, and even kill people from a distance. And Arhat, who is completely above Grade 1, has condensed his divine sense into a substance, which is equivalent to a Daoist's primordial spirit. Even if the body is destroyed by condensing divine sense into a substance, an existence at the level of Arhat will not die immediately. It's just that. Without the nourishment of the body, the divine sense is equivalent to a rootless source and can't last long. It's just that. The Devil Buddha used some unknown method to entrust his divine sense to the Buddha mountain and survive until now. It's just that. Even so, the Devil Buddha can't survive for long. The corporeal body would decay, and so would the divine consciousness. It was just that the divine consciousness was slightly slower than the corporeal body. Moreover, without a physical body, the Devil Buddha probably wouldn't be able to display Arhat's level of battle prowess. You lured me here in order to seize my body and escape, right? Su Qin looked at the monk in golden robes and said slowly, This is your only chance. If you want to break free from the seal, this is the only way. The golden-robed monk listened to Su Qin's words without replying. However, at some unknown time, his golden monk robe had been silently dyed with a trace of black. Moreover, this trace of black was spreading in all directions at a frightening speed. Boom! In an instant. The Buddha cavern, which was originally filled with a Zen atmosphere, had actually turned into a demonic nest where thousands of demons roared. Endless black demon chi filled the air as illusory demonic creatures formed one after another, bearing their fangs at Su Qin. Not bad. What you said is right. The Devil Buddha completely tore off his disguise and looked at Su Qin like a hungry wolf. Your body has undergone a transformation, and you are not walking the path of boundless extreme yin or boundless extreme yang, but the path of yin and yang. This kind of body is hard to come by in thousands of years. Its potential is infinite. If I get it, I will definitely be able to return to my peak in less than 100 years. The Devil Buddha didn't care too much about Su Qin. Even if he doesn't have a physical body now, he is not someone a mere Grade 1 Great Grandmaster can deal with. Even if this Grade 1 Great Grandmaster has condensed his divine sense and transformed his body, it is still far from enough. The reason why the Devil Buddha didn't make a move outside is nothing more than because of the suppression of the seal, and he can't extend his power outside the Buddha mountain. But since Su Qin has entered the Buddha mountain, his life and death are already in his control. Now, I will give you a chance. Obediently hand over your body and I can let you die a little faster. No, I will burn your divine sense with my soul fire for 100 years. The Devil Buddha looked at Su Qin with a sneer. The reason why he said this was because he was worried that Su Qin would die together with him and accidentally hurt his body. Is that so? Are you sure you can beat me? Su Qin said softly. Beat you? The Devil Buddha smiled disdainfully. In the past 900 years, although I haven't been able to completely break the seal, I have torn a small piece of the seal. Although a small piece of the seal can't let me escape, the power transmitted from it is more than enough to kill you. The Devil Buddha was telling the truth. Although he doesn't have a physical body and can't exert the real strength of Arhat, it is still far beyond grade 1. Since you won't obediently hand over your body, then I can only personally retrieve your physical body. The Devil Buddha lost his patience. With a cold expression, he raised his right hand and pressed it towards Su Qin. In an instant, the entire devil nest shook, and countless demonic energy gathered, forming a big hand that slowly pressed towards Su Qin. Under this big hand, an ordinary grade 1 great grandmaster can't even move at all. Even a peak grade 1 would feel despair and close their eyes to wait for death. The Devil Buddha looked at Su Qin coldly, as if looking at a dead man. He believed that under this blow, even if Su Qin's strength was 10 times or 100 times stronger, it would still be useless. Just as the Devil Buddha was thinking about how to take Su Qin's body for his own use as soon as possible, Su Qin suddenly took a step forward and looked directly at the Devil Buddha. Don't you want to know why I saw through your identity but still followed you in and gave you so much time to prepare? Hearing this, the Devil Buddha's complexion changed slightly. Why is that? Since Su Qin recognized that he was not Tarahan, but the suppressed Devil Buddha, why did he take the initiative to jump into his trap? Could it be that Su Qin is a fool? How is that possible? Even the Devil Buddha does not think that a peak grade 1 is a fool. At this moment, Su Qin suddenly took another step forward. This is because I also need time. Boom. The 5 Buddha mountains suddenly roared. With Su Qin as the center, heaven and earth were enveloped by a dark golden Buddha palm. Golden Adumbra flowers bloomed in all directions. One flower, one world, one leaf, one universe, evolved into layers of pure land, endless. At the core of the pure land, a golden Buddha sat upright, like a real Buddha overlooking all living beings. His eyes were indifferent, without favoritism, hatred, love, or pity. The aura of the most powerful and vast reached the 9th heaven. The giant palm condensed from countless devil chi collapsed. The devil's nest, where thousands of devils roared, completely collapsed. The Buddha's light spread and illuminated everything. This, the Devil Buddha, who had been confident of victory, looked as if he had been struck by lightning. He looked at the vast and endless Pure Land, and at the center of the Pure Land, where the golden Buddha pointed at the sky and touched the earth, and roared in despair, Tathagata's true will. Chapter 34. Shaolin Temple. Abbot Huiwen and the court heads gathered in the Dharma court. Abbot, why did you ask us to come over? The warrior monastery head looked at Abbot Huiwen and asked in confusion. Abbot Huiwen heard this and a smile appeared on his face. After a while, I may go into seclusion. At that time, the matters of the Shaolin Temple will be handed over to Huiju. Huiju was the Dharma court head. His strength was second only to Abbot Huiwen in the upper realm in the Shaolin Temple. Seclusion? The disciplinary court head was shocked and asked tentatively, is Abbot preparing to break through? The disciplinary court head looked at Abbot Huiwen in disbelief. Recently, I have a little understanding, Abbot Huiwen was about to speak. Suddenly, at this moment, boom! A terrifying wave swept through the Shaolin Temple. For a time, the entire Shaolin Temple trembled slightly. What's going on? What happened? The court heads' expressions changed and they quickly walked out of the Dharma court. It's the back mountain. The vibration came from the back mountain. The warrior monastery head's voice trembled as he looked in the direction of the back mountain. When these words came out, the faces of the other court heads, including Abbot Huiju, changed greatly. Since 900 years ago, Tuarahan suppressed the Devil Buddha in the back mountain. The back mountain has become the forbidden area of the Shaolin Temple. Other forbidden areas, such as the Demon Subduing Tower and the Thousand Buddhas Hall, even if there is a problem, the Shaolin Temple will just have a headache. But if the back mountain is lost and the Devil Buddha escapes, it will definitely be a disaster for the Shaolin Temple. The Devil Buddha's successor that appears every 100 years has already made the Shaolin Temple anxious and almost destroyed several times, let alone the real Devil Buddha? Until then, not only the Shaolin Temple, but perhaps the entire world would become a plaything in the hands of the Devil Buddha. Hurry up and go to the back mountain. Abbot Huiwen and the other court heads looked at each other, their expressions filled with death. If the Devil Buddha really escaped from the back mountain, they would stop the Devil Buddha even if they had to die. Very soon, Abbot Huiwen and the others rushed to the forbidden area in the back of the mountain. However, when Abbot Huiwen and the court heads raised their heads to look at the forbidden area in the back of the mountain, they saw a scene they would never forget for the rest of their lives. Countless golden adumbra flowers bloomed in the air, forming layers of pure land that enveloped the entire forbidden area. A golden-bodied Buddha sat in the center of the pure land, emitting an aura that was so vast and powerful that it shot straight up into the 9 heavens. Rumble! Under Abbot Huiwen's incredulous gaze, the golden Buddha raised his palm and slowly pressed it down toward the depths of the back mountain. This is... Abbot Huiwen opened his mouth, his face filled with disbelief. The Buddha's palm, it's the Buddha's palm. The Dharma court head's tone was fanatical. He looked at the golden Buddha and almost knelt down on the spot. The Buddha's palm was lost with the death of Tarahan 900 years ago. Now this is... The commandment court head muttered to himself, could it be that Tarahan has come back to life? It shouldn't be. Abbot Huiwen was silent for a long time and said, even if Tarahan didn't die 900 years ago, he couldn't have lived until now. Abbot Huiwen paused for a moment and said in disbelief, someone should be using the Buddha's palm to suppress the Devil Buddha in the back of the mountain. In the back of the mountain. The Tathagata's will. How do you have the Tathagata's will? The Devil Buddha was shocked and angry. He completely lost his composure. Even when Tarahan suppressed him with the Buddha's palm 900 years ago, he had never been like this. The Buddha's palm belonged to the Tathagata's will. But the Tathagata's will was not the Buddha's palm. The Buddha's palm had 9 styles, and each style was completely independent. Even Tarahan 900 years ago had only mastered one style of the Buddha's palm. In the thousands of years of history of the Shaolin Temple, the other Arhat-born were similar to Tarahan, because no one could bear the true vast power of the Buddha's palm. And to completely master the 9 styles of the Buddha's palm, one could only do it with the Tathagata's will. Only the Tathagata's will had the effect of the outline and controlled the 9 styles of the Buddha's palm. However, the Tathagata's will was illusory and extremely mysterious. Even when the Devil Buddha flipped through all the Buddhist scriptures, he only saw a few words. The Devil Buddha even believed that the Tathagata's will did not exist in the world. But now, the Devil Buddha would never have dreamed that he would see the Tathagata's will in a young monk. The Tathagata's will? Su Qin did not think too much about it. At this moment, it was as if he had transformed into the real Arhat. He had completely controlled the sealing power in the Forbidden Land. Ever since he entered the back of the mountain, Su Qin had vaguely sensed the abnormality of the Golden Buddha in the ancestral aperture between his eyebrows. And this change reached its peak when Su Qin entered the Buddha mountain. With the Golden Buddha in the ancestral aperture, Su Qin could already control all the sealing power in the Forbidden Land. The changes in the Forbidden Land, especially the Supreme and Mighty Buddha's palm, were not so much done by Su Qin as they were left behind by Tarahan 900 years ago. Su Qin only activated it slightly. No! I don't want to be sealed again. The Devil Buddha saw the Buddha's palm slowly pressing down. His body suddenly exploded into countless wisps of black mist that fled in all directions. He had spent 900 years to barely break a small part of the seal and extend his power. If he was suppressed again, what awaited the Devil Buddha would be complete annihilation. Because even if the Devil Buddha gave up his physical body and struggled at death's door with his divine will, it was impossible for him to live for nearly 2,000 years. You can't escape. Su Qin's gaze was cold. Just like Tarahan 900 years ago, he raised his right hand and pressed down again. Rumble. Heaven and earth were enveloped by a dark golden Buddha's palm. It suppressed the 5 elements and prohibited all techniques. Countless wisps of black mist let out a scream and completely evaporated. At this moment, although the endless power of the seal was mobilized, the small part of the seal that the Devil Buddha had spent 900 years to break was instantly mended. The Devil Buddha's divine will that had been suppressed underground directly let out a muffled groan and completely disappeared. It's finally over. Su Qin withdrew his right hand and felt the golden Buddha in the ancestral aperture at his brow calm down. He was slightly relieved. Although he did not know why this golden Buddha could so easily mobilize the power of the seal in the forbidden land at the back of the mountain. But now, everything was over. My physical body has transformed again. Su Qin felt the changes in his body and was delighted. Although Su Qin had not used his own power just now, when he carried the power of the seal in the forbidden land at the back of the mountain, it was no different from a real arhat, expending his cultivation to change and cleanse Su Qin's body. After this battle, the benefits that Su Qin had gained were simply unimaginable. If Su Qin was just an ordinary person, he might have directly become a martial artist in the upper realm. That's right. I almost forgot about the business. Su Qin seemed to think of something and said in his heart. Chapter 35. Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully. Obtained the divine art, Devil Buddha Golden Body. A mechanical, cold voice sounded in Su Qin's ears. Devil Buddha Golden Body? Su Qin nodded slightly. Obviously, this sign-in should have obtained the Devil Buddha's fundamental divine art. It's almost time to go back. Su Qin didn't immediately comprehend the Devil Buddha Golden Body. With such a big movement in the back mountain, Abbot Huiwen and the court heads are very likely to rush in. So, Su Qin walked out of Buddha Mountain. Sigh. Su Qin looked at the 5A holy monk sitting cross-legged in front of Buddha Mountain and sighed softly. The Devil Buddha's seal has been strengthened, you don't need to continue guarding here. The 5A holy monk fell into a state of suspended animation with a secret technique. This secret technique can certainly prolong the life of Shoyuan, but in this state of suspended animation, the 5A holy monk will be tortured at all times. It's better to die. Thinking of this, Su Qin flicked his finger and 5 internal forces hit the bodies of the 5A holy monk. These 5 internal forces can wake up the 5A holy monk in advance. After doing all this, Su Qin quickly left the back mountain. Outside the back mountain, Su Qin found Abbot Huiwen and the court heads guarding there. Su Qin didn't intend to remind them and directly returned to the handyman court. Devil Buddha Golden Body. Su Qin sat cross-legged and began to receive all the information about the Devil Buddha Golden Body from the system. Boom! A huge Buddha Golden Body appeared in Su Qin's mind. This Buddha Golden Body was half gold and half black. The golden side was solemn, and the black side was full of demonic intent. Two completely opposite forces gathered in the same golden body at this moment, fusing and permeating each other. This is? Su Qin's pupils shrank slightly. In the beginning, Su Qin thought that the Devil Buddha had abandoned Buddhism to become a demon, but now it seemed that the Devil Buddha was clearly a dual cultivator. When he cultivated the Buddha demon golden body to greater mastery, he could freely switch between the demon sect's internal energy and the Buddhist sect's internal energy. One had to know that the greatest taboo in martial arts cultivation was heterogeneous and impure. However, not only did the Devil Buddha's golden body not care about this, it even merged the two extreme powers into one. Devil Buddha. Su Qin remained silent. At this moment, even Su Qin had no choice but to admit that the Devil Buddha's talent was absolutely rarely seen in 1,000 years. It was a pity. No matter how talented the Devil Buddha was, he was still no match for the Buddha's palm. After realizing how terrifying the Devil Buddha's golden body was, Su Qin did not immediately cultivate it. With Su Qin's strength, once he cultivated the Devil Buddha's golden body and converted his internal energy into devil qi, his devil might would probably be so vast that it would instantly alarm the entire Shaolin Temple. Su Qin planned to find some time to find a secluded place to slowly comprehend the Devil Buddha's golden body. Since the Devil Buddha's golden body was in his mind and could not escape, Su Qin was naturally not in a hurry. Apart from the Devil Buddha's golden body, my physical body has actually transformed again with the help of the seal's power? Su Qin carefully sensed his physical body and was very satisfied. One had to know that ever since Su Qin used the invincible Vajra body divine art and the extreme Yin body refining art to temper his physical body to the extreme. At that time, Su Qin was very sure that his physical body was already the limit before attaining the fruit of Arhat. Now, with the power of my physical body, I'm afraid that I can stand shoulder to shoulder with peak grade 1, right? Su Qin's expression was filled with emotion. It should be known that only a grade 1 great grandmaster who stands at the peak of grade 1 and whose physical body, internal strength, and spirit have transformed in some aspect is qualified to be called a peak grade 1. Any peak grade 1 is enough to suppress a country. For example, the imperial teacher of the Meng Yuan Empire and the eunuch Zhao in the palace of the Emperor of Tang. And now, if these peak grade 1 knew that there was someone who was comparable to them in terms of physical strength, their jaws would probably drop in shock. With my current accumulation, as long as my internal strength transforms, I'm afraid that I can impact the fruit of Arhat realm in a short time. Su Qin was very confident. Next, I will patiently polish my internal strength. Su Qin made a decision in his heart. Outside the back mountain forbidden area, Abbot Huiwen and the court heads have been waiting. At this moment, 5 figures slowly walked out of the back mountain forbidden area. That is? It's the 5 holy monk ancestors? Abbot Huiwen's expression changed. As the abbot of the Shaolin Temple, he naturally knows the ancestors of the Shaolin Temple. However, what Abbot Huiwen didn't expect was that these 5 ancestors, who had passed away long ago, actually came out of the back mountain forbidden area alive. After a while, Abbot Huiwen and the 5 holy monk communicated for a while and understood the whole story. In order to guard the Devil Buddha seal, there must be a holy monk outside the seal. So, the people who secretly acted before were not the ancestors? Abbot Huiwen thought for a while and suddenly asked. The 5 of us have been in a state of suspended animation with a secret method and couldn't act. One of the wrinkled, a holy monk said. As soon as this was said, Abbot Huiwen and the court heads looked at each other, full of doubts. Could it be that in addition to the back mountain forbidden area, there were other holy monk ancestors hidden in the Shaolin Temple? Just as Abbot Huiwen was thinking. A holy monk who spoke first said, the Devil Buddha seal has been reinforced and we don't need to guard it anymore. We will pass away in a few months at most. As soon as this was said, Abbot Huiwen and the court heads looked gloomy. Since the back mountain forbidden area incident, the Shaolin Temple was really shaken for a while. However, as several months passed, the 5 holy monk who came out of the forbidden area passed away one after another. The Shaolin Temple was quiet again. Time once again became slow and long. During this period, Abbot Huiwen began his closed-door training, wanting to enter the grade 1 Great Grandmaster realm. While Abbot Huiwen was in closed-door training, all the matters of the Shaolin Temple were temporarily taken over by the Dharma court. The changes in the Shaolin Temple's high level made most of the Shaolin Temple disciples talk about it, especially the disciples of the Handyman court. During the break, they began to discuss when Abbot Huiwen will come out of closed-door training and so on. Su Qin once again returned to his previous days, signing in, sweeping the floor, and polishing his internal force. Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully. Obtained the pill, Nirvana pill. Outside the Bodhi court, Su Qin looked happy and extremely satisfied. The Nirvana pill is one of the Shaolin Temple's holy pills. It has only one function, and that is to save one's life. Any martial artist, no matter the degree of injury, can survive as long as they take the Nirvana pill. In Jianghu, this kind of life-saving pill has always been rare, especially the Nirvana pill, which has no hidden dangers. If the Nirvana pill is leaked outside, it will definitely attract the attention of grade 1 great grandmasters and even peak grade 1 martial artists. After all, even peak grade 1 martial artists can't guarantee that they won't be injured. Having the Nirvana pill is equivalent to having an extra life. Not bad, not bad. Su Qin nodded. In any case, this kind of life-saving pill, Su Qin will not complain about it. Time slowly passed. Chapter 36. Back Mountain Forbidden Area. Su Qin was sitting cross-legged, his breathing was calm, as if he was an ordinary person. But if a Grade 1 Great Grandmaster was here, they would be shocked to find that the area 10 meters around Su Qin was faintly filled with an inexplicable domain. Within the domain, even a Grade 1 Great Grandmaster's strength would be suppressed by more than half, and the closer to Su Qin, the more terrifying the suppression would be. I finally found a way to transform my internal strength. Su Qin slowly opened his eyes, and a smile appeared on his face. Over the past year, Su Qin once again visited the Shaolin Temple, checking and filling in the gaps, to see if there was anything missing that he didn't sign in. In the end, Su Qin was pleasantly surprised to find that in the Back Mountain Forbidden Area, he could sign in again every once in a while. In the subsequent sign-ins, in addition to the Devil Buddha Golden Body, Su Qin also obtained Demonic Will Split Parasitism, Burning Heaven Demon Fire, Devil Buddha 9 Strikes, and other demonic arts unique to the Devil Buddha from the Back Mountain Forbidden Area. Among them, the Demonic Will Split Parasitism was a technique where the Devil Buddha abandoned his body and lived in the world in the form of demonic will. It has to be said that although this technique can only be used by those at the level of Arhat, Su Qin had a deep understanding of its terrifying power. You must know that even if Arhat achieved the Buddhahood of Arhat and was invincible in the world, it was only 500 years of Shoyuan. But with the Demonic Will Split Parasitism, the Devil Buddha endured for thousands of years, which was enough to kill 2 generations of Arhat. It's just that. Su Qin was not interested in the Demonic Will Split Parasitism. If it wasn't for the fact that there was no other way out, who would be willing to turn themselves into something that was neither human nor ghost like the Devil Buddha? Compared with the Devil Buddha, Su Qin's potential was unlimited. Why would he need to use the Demonic Will Split Parasitism to prolong his life? Of course, Su Qin did not intend to abandon his physical body, but some of the ideas in the Demonic Thought Division Parasitism method were worth learning. Apart from the Demonic Will Split Parasitism technique, the Heaven-Burning Demonic Fire was Su Qin's greatest gain. This demonic technique used one's divine will as a guide to ignite the demonic fire. The demonic fire was formless and formless, but it could burn away the impurities in the inner energy, achieving the effect of purifying the inner energy. With the speed at which the burning sky demon flame purifies inner strength, it will take at most 5 years for the transformation of inner strength to be completed. Su Qin's eyes lit up. If he didn't have the burning sky demon fire, Su Qin could only rely on time to slowly polish it. In this way, if he wanted to transform his inner strength, he would need at least 10 years of hard work. However, the burning heaven devil flame had shortened this process by dozens of times. If the Grade 1 Great Grandmasters outside knew about this, they would probably go crazy with jealousy. Of course, Su Qin does not care about the thoughts of a Grade 1 Great Grandmaster. With Su Qin's current strength, no matter how many Grade 1 Great Grandmasters came, it would be a matter of a few slaps. Unfortunately, after the last time, the power of the seal in the back mountain was used to suppress the Devil Buddha. Otherwise, I would really want to strengthen my body again. Su Qin glanced around with a regretful expression. Although Su Qin still has absolute control over the seal in the back mountain by relying on the golden Buddha in his eyebrows. However, Su Qin also knows the seriousness of the matter. If he used the seal again and released the Devil Buddha, wouldn't the loss outweigh the gain? Besides, right now, Su Qin's body has almost been strengthened to the limit. Even if he used the seal again, it would not improve much. After 5 years, when the transformation of inner strength is completed, I can try to break through to the Arhat realm. Su Qin slowly got up and walked out of the back mountain. Quietly avoiding the patrolling monks, Su Qin returned to the handyman court in the blink of an eye. With my current strength, compared to Daoist Zhang of Wudong true martial lineage, or the imperial teacher of the Meng Yuan Empire, who is stronger and who is weaker? Su Qin thought slowly in his heart. Whether it is Daoist Zhang or the imperial teacher, they are both peak Grade 1 Great Grandmasters. Ordinary Grade 1 Great Grandmasters would not dare to be presumptuous in front of these two. Su Qin was a little curious at this moment. What peak grade 1 Great Grandmaster Zhang and the Imperial Teacher are? One must know that as long as one's soul, internal strength, and body have transformed, they can be called peak grade 1. The second transformation, even if all three have transformed, they are still peak grade 1. Although Su Qin has only transformed his divine soul and body, with the terror of his body, even if he faces a peak grade 1 who has transformed all three, he will not be afraid. Of course. Although Su Qin's strength at this moment is already standing at the peak of the world, he has no complacency at all. In Su Qin's view, if he wants to be truly invincible in the world, peak grade 1 is far from enough. At the very least, he must be Arhat realm to barely meet the requirements. In fact, Su Qin feels that Arhat realm is not foolproof. 900 years ago, how did Tearahan of the Shaolin Temple pass away? Wasn't it because he went all out against the Devil Buddha? In the end, although he suppressed the Devil Buddha with the Buddha's palm, he also passed away because of his injuries. What if another Devil Buddha appears in Su Qin's era? The next day, Su Qin came to the Bodhi court to sweep the floor. System, sign in for me. Su Qin said in his heart. Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully. Obtain the medicinal pill, face retaining pill. A cold, mechanical voice sounded in Su Qin's ears. Face retaining pill? Su Qin was slightly taken aback. Su Qin didn't expect that the sign in this time would actually give him the face retaining pill. In fact, for Su Qin, the face retaining pill has no effect. It's not as good as a small recovery pill, at least he can chew it a few times like candy. Of course, in the eyes of some women, the face retaining pill can help them retain their youth forever. It's no different from a real immortal pill. Forget it. I'll keep it first. Maybe it will be useful in the future. Su Qin threw the face retaining pill into the system space. After signing in, Su Qin looked up at the Bodhi court. Huiwen has been in seclusion for a year. Why hasn't it ended yet? Could it be that an accident happened? Su Qin was puzzled. He remembered that when he entered the first grade from the second grade, he didn't encounter any difficulties at all. It was completely natural and easy. And Abbot Huiwen deliberately broke through in the Bodhi court this time because he wanted to rely on the large number of medicinal pills in the Bodhi court to increase the possibility of a successful breakthrough. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any problems. Let's take a look. Su Qin opened the eyes of truth and looked towards the depths of the Bodhi court. The eyes of truth can see through all auras. At this moment, in Su Qin's vision, dozens of auras appeared in the depths of the Bodhi court. Su Qin quickly looked at the aura belonging to Abbot Huiwen. After entering the temple for more than 10 years, although Su Qin hasn't had much contact with Abbot Huiwen, it's easy to just lock onto his aura. But why is he so weak? Could it be that he has gone mad? Chapter 37. If there is no accident, Huiwen probably won't survive tonight. Su Qin carefully observed the aura belonging to Abbot Huiwen in the depths of the Bodhi court and judged in his heart. It's a pity. Su Qin sighed softly. After entering the temple for more than 10 years, although Su Qin has not received much preferential treatment, Abbot Huiwen has never deliberately targeted him. Even after the death of the previous court head, Abbot Huiwen specifically looked for Su Qin and asked if Su Qin had any intention of returning to the secular world. It can be said that as the abbot of the Shaolin Temple, although he did not lead the Shaolin Temple to prosperity, at least he kept the foundation and let Su Qin sign in quietly for more than 10 years. If Huiwen dies, the Shaolin Temple will inevitably be in chaos, and it will even attract the attention of outside forces. At that time, it will be impossible for me to sweep the floor and sign in as leisurely as before. Su Qin thought in his heart. Forget it. More than 10 years of fasting can't be ignored. Su Qin's mind moved, and a few meters around him were suddenly enveloped in an inexplicable domain. Inside the domain, the line of sight was blurred, and even the light began to distort faintly, and only a vague figure could be vaguely recognized standing there. Deep in the Bodhi court, the court heads gathered, and their faces were full of grief. Is the abbot really unable to be saved? The Dharma court head looked at the Bodhi court head and asked in a deep voice. Over the past year, Abbot Huiwen has been in seclusion, trying to break through, and all the matters of the Shaolin Temple are handled by the Dharma court head. However, the Dharma court head did not expect that Abbot Huiwen's breakthrough this time would have such an ending. The Bodhi court head shook his head slightly, his expression solemn. Qi deviation, his meridians are in chaos. Even if a grade 1 great grandmaster consumes his cultivation, he can only save his life. It's basically impossible to completely recover. As soon as he said this, the other academy heads were silent. As a matter of fact, they were already prepared for what the patriarch of the Bodhi Hall was going to say. The biggest taboo for martial arts cultivators was to go berserk. This was because when one went berserk, one's inner strength would collapse, and one's meridians would become chaotic. It was basically equivalent to being incurable. Abbot. The warrior monastery's head looked at Abbot Huiwen, who was sitting cross-legged with a face as pale as a sheet. The other court heads also looked sorrowful, especially the head of the Dharma court. He was now taking over all the affairs of the Shaolin Temple in place of Abbot Huiwen. He immediately realized that if Abbot Huiwen passed away, what kind of influence would it have on the Shaolin Temple? Although the Shaolin Temple had no lack of upper realm martial artists, there was only one second-grade martial artist, Abbot Huiwen. If they lost Abbot Huiwen, the Shaolin Temple was equivalent to not having a second-grade martial artist. Originally, as a great sect, the Shaolin Temple not having a grade 1 great grandmaster was enough to arouse suspicion from the outside world. The reason why nothing has happened so far is entirely because the Shaolin Temple has a deep heritage, and no one dares to provoke them. But if the Shaolin Temple can't even bring out a second-grade martial artist, even if their heritage is unfathomable, it is impossible to convince the public. At that time, the Shaolin Temple would be removed from the list of great sects in the world, and would be directly besieged by many forces. No matter which one it is not a price that the Shaolin Temple can afford to pay. At this moment, Abbot Huiwen slowly opened his eyes and said with difficulty, "I was too anxious this time." Abbot Huiwen's face was pale, without a trace of blood. At this moment, the internal strength in his body was completely chaotic, and he couldn't even move. Now that he could barely speak, it was already a sign of his strong willpower. "Abbot, you will be fine." The warrior monastery's head immediately approached, his eyes red. Abbot Huiwen shook his head and looked at the Dharma court's head. "After I pass away, the Shaolin Temple will be handed over to you." The Dharma court's head nodded, with a heavy expression. No matter what, even if they have to pay a high price, the inheritance of the Shaolin Temple cannot be destroyed. Suddenly, at this moment, there was a sudden noise outside the Bodhi court. "Who are you? How dare you break into the Bodhi court?" A martial monk's violent roar sounded. Outside the Bodhi court, a large number of patrolling martial monks stared at a vague figure as if they were facing a great enemy. Because Abbot Huiwen was in seclusion, the Bodhi court had long been blocked by many martial monks. "Get out of the way." Su Qin was too lazy to explain. At this moment, his figure and appearance were covered by a secret technique of internal strength, and no one could recognize him. Buzz! Su Qin's pace was neither fast nor slow, but every time he took a step, a terrible pressure covered them. Under this pressure, all the martial monks were like ants facing a high god. Their internal strength stagnated in an instant, and they fell to the ground and fainted. And this was because Su Qin did not kill them. Otherwise, with his strength, it would have been impossible for any of the monks to survive in that instant. Su Qin came to the depths of the Bodhi court. The heads had just heard the violent roar of the martial monks outside when they saw a vague figure coming in. Suddenly, their expressions changed greatly. At this moment, even if the heads could not react, they realized that the vague figure who suddenly broke in was an extremely terrible existence. The many martial monks guarding outside the Bodhi court were the elites of the Shaolin Temple. Even if Abbot Huiwen, a level 2 martial artist, wanted to break in, it would take a while. But the vague figure in front of them? Not even a moment and he came in? How terrible was his strength? "Get out of here!" The warrior monastery head roared, his aura soared rapidly, and he slammed a punch at Su Qin. This punch gathered all the strength of the warrior monastery head, and even the final breakthrough was enough to make a level 2 martial artist pale in comparison. However, under everyone's incredible eyes, the punch of the warrior monastery head was only 10 meters away from the vague figure, but it was as if he had fallen into a quagmire and was directly imprisoned in place. Troublesome. Su Qin frowned and released a little bit of his aura. In an instant, a terrifying domain covered the sky and instantly enveloped the entire Bodhi court. Under this domain, all the heads were like insects in amber, unable to move. Not only that, the internal strength in their body seemed to have been frightened and instantly shrank in their dantian, not daring to come out. This scene completely stunned all the court heads. They were a group of martial artists in the upper realm. Even if they were placed in the world, they could be regarded as strong. But in front of Su Qin, they were as fragile as a baby. The other party didn't even raise his hand, and they had all lost the ability to resist. What kind of strength could do this to such a degree? The scalps of the Dharma court head and the others were numb. Looking at the vague figure, their hearts trembled in panic. And at this moment. Chapter 38. Bodhi Court. Su Qin slowly walked in front of Abbot Huiwen. At this moment, Abbot Huiwen's eyes were wide open as he looked at Su Qin in shock. From the time Su Qin broke into the Dharma court until now, it has only been a few moments, but in this time, hundreds of middle realm monks of the Shaolin Temple, as well as the court heads, have all lost their ability to move. This kind of strength, even an ordinary grade 1 great grandmaster would not be able to do it, right? Blood flow in reverse. Meridians disorder. Su Qin opened the eyes of truth and looked at Abbot Huiwen at close range. Under the observation of the eyes of truth, everything in Abbot Huiwen's body fell into Su Qin's eyes. If it was any other grade 1 great grandmaster, even if it was a peak grade 1, they would be helpless in the face of Abbot Huiwen's situation. At most, they would have to consume their cultivation base to save Abbot Huiwen's life. As for more, there is nothing they can do. After all, even a peak grade 1 can't know Abbot Huiwen's body like the back of their hand. But Su Qin is different. Su Qin, who has the eyes of truth, is like a divine doctor who can prescribe the right medicine. He only needs to look at Abbot Huiwen's body a few times to determine the condition of his body and save him. Are you a holy monk? Abbot Huiwen looked at the blurry figure in front of him and asked tentatively. At this moment, Abbot Huiwen was no longer afraid, because if Su Qin really wanted to kill him, he would have died long ago. With Su Qin's strength, he can easily slaughter the entire Shaolin Temple, let alone a cripple like him. But now, Su Qin didn't kill him. He just stood there. Obviously, he wasn't an enemy of the Shaolin Temple. In the Shaolin Temple, there was only one person who could have such terrifying strength as Su Qin. That person was a holy monk who had been hiding in the dark and had saved the Shaolin Temple several times. Don't talk. Try to regain control of your inner strength. Su Qin ignored him. He gently raised his right hand and placed it on Huiwen's chest. Regaining control of my inner strength? Abbot Huiwen stared blankly for a moment before smiling bitterly. He had already completely gone berserk, and the inner energy in his body had long gone berserk. How could he possibly control it? Senior, a holy monk, there's no need for you to do anything. Even if you exhaust your cultivation to save my life, I'll still become a cripple. Why do you need to weaken your strength for a cripple like me? Abbot Huiwen's eyes were gloomy. Abbot Huiwen was very clear about his injuries. He had gone berserk and there was no cure. Even if he were to exhaust his cultivation to save him, he would still be a cripple. However, the next moment, as Su Qin's right hand gently touched Abbot Huiwen's body, a terrifying inner strength poured in. Under this inner strength, the inner strength in Abbot Huiwen's body, which had gone berserk, became extremely obedient and meekly flowed between his tendons and veins. This is... Abbot Huiwen's pupils suddenly shrank, and he looked at Su Qin in disbelief. In a flash, Abbot Huiwen realized what he should do at this moment. He immediately closed his eyes and began to regain control of his inner strength. When the court heads saw this scene, their hearts tightened, and they suddenly thought of something. Although they were imprisoned in place, they still had the ability to think. At this moment, when they saw the actions of the vague figure who had broken into the Dharma court, they immediately thought that the other party might have come to save Abbot Huiwen. This person, is he here to save the abbot? Is it the temple's holy monk ancestor? The court head's thoughts fluctuated. After suppressing Abbot Huiwen's inner strength, Su Qin began to clean up his disordered tendons and veins. With the help of the eyes of truth, Su Qin did not spend much effort to pull Abbot Huiwen back from cultivation deviation. After a while, Su Qin slowly retracted his right hand. I'm all right? Almost at the same time, Abbot Huiwen opened his eyes and looked at his hands in disbelief. The court heads around were stunned as they looked at Abbot Huiwen, whose face quickly recovered its ruddy complexion. They never dreamed that Abbot Huiwen had completely recovered. It must be known that with the depth of Abbot Huiwen's cultivation deviation, even if a grade 1 great grandmaster was willing to take the risk of losing a lot of their strength, they could only save Abbot Huiwen's life. As for a complete recovery, it was simply impossible. But now, looking at Abbot Huiwen's ruddy complexion and stable aura, the court heads felt as if they were dreaming. The road of martial arts is gradual, don't be impatient. Su Qin looked at Abbot Huiwen and casually reminded him. If Abbot Huiwen had waited a few more years and patiently polished his body, he would not have entered cultivation deviation. Huiwen has been taught. When Abbot Huiwen heard this, his expression became solemn, and he respectfully said to Su Qin. In Abbot Huiwen's view, Su Qin must be the patriarch of the Shaolin Temple, so he should salute him like this. Su Qin looked at the respectful Abbot Huiwen and didn't know what to say. If Abbot Huiwen knew that the person standing in front of him at this moment was just an inconspicuous sweeping monk of the handyman court, who knows what kind of expression he would have. It's time to go. Su Qin glanced at the other court heads who were still imprisoned and motionless. Now that they have been rescued, Su Qin also has to leave. The next moment, the inexplicable domain that permeated the entire Bodhi court slowly dissipated. The court heads took a deep breath, as if they were rescued from drowning, and suddenly straightened up. Plop. The warrior monastery's court head directly fell to the ground, his face ashen. He had just punched at Su Qin, but the result was that he was imprisoned. Now that the imprisonment was gone, the force had dissipated, and he couldn't control it, so he could only bite the bullet and fall to the ground. The other court heads quickly turned to look at Abbot Huiwen. A holy monk has left. Abbot Huiwen sat there in a daze, looking disappointed. Abbot, are you okay? The Dharma court head immediately walked to Abbot Huiwen and asked quickly. I'm fine. Abbot Huiwen shook his head and said, Your breath is stable and your blood is flowing freely. Have you really completely recovered? The Bodhi court head checked Abbot Huiwen's pulse and murmured in disbelief. Although he had guessed something from Abbot Huiwen's complexion, when he really confirmed that Abbot Huiwen was fine, there was still a huge wave in his heart. One had to know that this was a qi deviation that was said to be incurable. At this moment, Su Qin had already arrived outside the Bodhi court. Hundreds of monks were lying on the ground in disarray. Just now, Su Qin wanted to enter the Bodhi court, but these monks wanted to stop him, and then this happened. Su Qin ignored them. These monks were only temporarily unconscious, and they would wake up in a few hours. So, Su Qin returned to the chores court. Along the way, Su Qin had been using his inner force to hide his appearance and figure, and only when he was sure that no one was nearby did he slowly release the concealment. I didn't expect the Eye of Truth to have such a function. Su Qin was slightly emotional. Welcome to Legends of Cultivation, audiobooks, where we bring ancient fantasy to life through storytelling. Follow the rise of heroes who defy fate, unlock mystical powers, and battle across celestial realms. Our audiobooks are crafted for fans of Chinese cultivation novels, filled with battles, breakthroughs, and legendary artifacts. Subscribe and be part of an unforgettable journey into the realm of immortality.